Today, we're going over what split pushing is, and I'm going to teach you guys how to actually split push. Let's get into it. So, we're going to go over these two games I played, one with Trundle and one with Gwen, where my main goal in the game was to split push. My goal was to put as much pressure on the towers and the inhibitors in the side lanes as possible, play away from my team while they're playing for objectives, while they're trying to team fight on the other side, and just make sure there's a bunch of pressure on the enemy team to respond to me. But in order to go over these games, we first have to go over what split pushing is. So, what is it? Split pushing is the act of pushing a side lane on the opposite side of your team or the next objective in order to accomplish a goal. Now, obviously, opposite side of your team, that is not an always case, it's a usually case. This could change depending on what there is to play for, but we'll go over that as we go over the games. Example goals that you'll be playing for is to force the enemy team to respond to you with multiple people. It's to sacrifice objectives because you're going to be gaining something for yourself that's more valuable on the other side of the map. Or it's to secure pressure in the side lane so that you can look to flank and fight with your team. Now, what are the types of split pushers? Well, we have duelists, tower beaters, and team fighters. Duelists are examples of champions like Jax or Gwen, tower beaters like Trundle, or team fighters like Kennen and Gnar. It's important to note that some champions can fit into multiple categories, can fit into all three categories because they can do everything pretty well. Slotting a character into a category does not mean that's the only thing they can do, it's just their preferred way to split push. And a quick breakdown of each type of split pusher. So duelists are going to be champions that have strong 1v2, even like 1v3 potential, depending on how strong they are. Their kits are designed to be scrappy, to be able to skirmish well in the side lane, play for those 1v2s, play for those 1v3s, and 2v3s if your jungler's on your side. Tower beaters are going to be champions that index heavily into being able to take towers quickly. So champions like Trundle, that are going to take demolish, look to take towers in 5 seconds, you know, those tier 2s, tier 3s, beat them down quickly, and then, you know, get out of there, out of the side lane, maybe look to flank, look to go and onto the other side of the map. And your team fighters are going to be champions that don't really take towers well, but they apply pressure to the person in the side lane, the enemy you're going to be facing, and then can look to flank, group with their team, be at objectives, and team fight well. Those are the main three types and what they do. All right, so we've locked in a split pusher. Now what do we do? Here are going to be your 4 main objectives. The first one is you're going to want a stable early game. You don't want high variance in your early games. You don't want to be playing for early 1v1s or early 2v2s with your jungler, at least not ones that aren't guaranteed. You don't want to be flipping random fights. You want stable early games, play for your recalls, play for your tempo, make sure that you don't die a lot early. Leads into the next one. We want to keep our CS high and our deaths low. We want to make sure that we're getting a ton of farm, a ton of gold into our character, and we can't do that if we're dead. We want to make sure we keep our deaths low. If we're being greedy by trying to hit the tower or trying to proxy, we need to make sure we're doing it with good information. We want to prioritize towers over kills. Towers are the most effective way to gain gold in the side lane over killing your opponent. Same thing with farming, same thing with playing for like grubs so you can take towers more quickly. We don't want to get caught up in trying to chase kills, over-index into thinking that we need a high KDA. Our priority is towers, is side lane pressure. And the fourth one, even if we're playing a team fighter, we don't want to overgroup. We don't want to randomly be in the mid lane, trying to play for mid waves when we're trying to set up objectives. Our goal when playing a split pusher is to put pressure in the side lane. We don't do that if we're mid lane, if we're not in the side lane. So don't overgroup. Make sure we're pressuring an objective or doing something with our team by being in the side lane first. All right, we've gone over the slideshow. Now let's get into the actual breakdown of the games. I got my notepad on my other screen, got my epic pen on that screen, so if you see me looking to the side, it's because I'm going to be using these things to reference what I'm going to be breaking down. So I'll give a quick breakdown of the early game. Had a pretty stable early game. We can see I'm playing Trundle, I'm 0-0-1, I'm farming pretty decently, and I haven't flipped too many early fights against this Fiora. I've already taken a plate. Now we're going to start breaking down each time mark, even some of the mistakes I made, to really go over what's happening. So first one's going to come at 7:35. I'm fighting the Fiora, she Qs into me. I tried to start scrapping with her and I flip a 1v1, turns into a 1v2 where Wukong's on my side and I don't have my jungler on my side, so this was not a good play by me. Obviously, when we're playing these split pushers, like we said, we don't want high variance. Flipping a fight when my jungler's not on my side, never good. Now we're going to go to the next point. It's going to be at 10 minutes 30. I got a couple kills in the mid lane, but now we have a Ravenous Hydra and our goal is to just put as much pressure onto this tower over and over again in the side lane. Now that we have Rav, it's going to be really hard for Fiora to push us out of the side lane. We can always out heal pretty much any damage she has for us. So I'm going to be taking waves in her face and I'm going to be looking to permanently move to objectives into the enemy jungle. So I take the wave, I ward deep in Wukong's jungle, I come back top, take another wave, I go over to Grub. We're going to fight in the river, we end up killing Wukong, and we secure Grubs for ourselves. We're going to go back top, push the wave, push another wave, and now we're going to take another plate in this Fiora's face, and this is just the goal when we're split pushing, when we're playing a split pusher in the early game. We want to focus the tower, focus objectives early. Fiora ends up trying to fight us, this leads to her dying. So what do? We'll snapshot it. Fiora's dead, enemy jungler was on the opposite side of the map, we saw Wukong. I'm going to take this wave in her face, and in the team's face. She's dead, and we're going to take her tower. 12 minutes, 50 seconds into the game, enemy tier 1 is dead, and now we're pretty good in the game. We have 112 CS, 13 minutes in. I'm really strong. Our goal is to stay in the side lane, so we're going to come out onto the map. We're going to walk top side. What we're going to do is we're going to stay top, and we just want to keep pressuring Fiora and keep trying to pressure her tower. And this is a very important part of playing a split pusher, and depending on the champ you're playing, is Trundle does really well taking enemy jungle camps because he has so much attack speed in his kit. And if you're going the Rav build, you have so much sustain that I'm going to push waves and I'm going to continue to take jungle camps. So we're going to see, I push a top wave, I go take his Gromp. I push another top wave, now Wukong's here. I'm going to look to try to take his blue, and I'm going to fight it right in his face. They try to 2v1 me, Fiora is down 2 levels, so I just spin on her head, I kill her. Now I end up getting the blue buff with my E. So we're going to go take his wolves too, and we're just going to go back top lane. I'm going to spin onto the wave, I'm going to hit the tier 1, and now I'm just going to recall. I have gold for my item, so I'm going to base and go get it. This is all we're going to keep doing. We're going to keep walking out of base, walking topside. I'm strong enough at this point where I can 1v2 Fiora and Wukong pretty easily, and I don't even have to kill them. It's just about applying pressure. Remember what we said. When we apply pressure, it helps our team secure things on the other side, like dragons, like pressure bot side, maybe even mid-tier 1. I'm going to walk out top. I'm going to steal my jungler's Krugs. Don't mind it. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to walk top, hit Fiora, and just keep sustaining up while trying to take this tower in her face. And now we're going to see what ends up happening. Is the enemy team is actually going to move a lot of people into my side, and my team has a lot of people into my side as well. And this is not how you want to be playing as a split pusher. You don't want everyone on your side where you're not actually able to secure pressure in the side lane, because now the fight's happening around me. So I'm going to hang around a little bit for the fight. I see Nautilus is a little bit out of position, so I'm going to spin in. They use like 3 ults trying to kill me, and I'm going to flash away. I spin out, and now we're going to do what we talked about. Remember, our priority is towers over kills. So the fight is already won. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to mid lane. I'm going to spin into mid lane, and I'm going to take this tier 1 tower mid. Because everyone on my team was topside, and remember, we want to be away from our team. Even though they were on my side initially, I look for the initial fight, that's fine. Then we want to get out of there and start pressuring somewhere else. So I walk mid lane, and now we're going to see the enemy team respawns mid, and my team is mid lane. So what do? I get out of here. I go top. I start pushing the top lane wave. And now we're going to play for top tier 2. I take it in Fiora's face, and then I fight her a little bit too much. She ends up chasing me down a little bit here. I greed a little bit. I should honestly just let her live, but I'm not paying attention to where the enemy team is, where my team is. I spin on her, and I end up going 1 for 1, but not a great death. I should have just taken the tier 2, taken my tempo, reset, and gone bot side. But as we're seeing, this is kind of what you're going to be doing when you're playing a split pusher. Constantly going into the side lane, applying pressure on waves, looking to take jungle camps. When people overplay into your side, if the fight is won, it's okay to get out of there and go to another lane and start trying to pressure waves there. Now, this is going to be a part where I can break down to you guys why I said you're not always going to be on the opposite side of your team. As we see here, my team is bot side and also Drag is bot side, but sadly, there's no top tier 2 for me to progress into if I go top to split push. So I end up deploying on the same side as my team, but I'm not deploying for the fight. I'm constantly keeping tabs on the fight to see how it's going, seeing if my team is hard losing. But when I see they're able to push the enemy team back themselves, I just stay bot. I push the wave and I look to start hitting this bot tower. I take the bot tier 2 while my team secures the pressure in their jungle and is able to take dragon. I'm technically looking for a flank in the enemy jungle, but I'm not over indexing into trying to chase kills. My Hui ends up responding top lane to Fiora, and my goal is to just stay bot side. The next objective is Otacon, and now here is where I'm going to be on the opposite side of my team. Next objective is Otacon, but I want to stay in the enemy bot side, take all their jungle camps, keep trying to pressure the bot waves. So here we're going to see. I walk bot side, my team is doing Otacon. Because there's no bot tier 2, what do? I walk into mid lane, and I clear the mid wave to make sure the enemy doesn't have waves to play on. Clear the mid wave, and we're going to go right back bot lane. Fiora ends up trying to push. I end up killing her. And now we're going to see exactly the same thing. I'm going to go bot side, and I'm just going to continuously keep tabs on the fight to see how the fight is going for my team. I see the enemy team is pulling, but I'm too far from this fight to actually interact with it. So what do? We stay bot lane. We take the tier 3 tower bot. My team ends up winning the fight. I take the bot inhib. I rotate mid, take the mid tier 3, take the mid inhib as well. And this leads to us winning the game after the enemy overchases trying to kill us, and we get 2 kills in the back end. So as we can see, sometimes you might end up deploying on the same side as your team if they're fighting there or if there's an objective. But that does not mean that I'm deploying on their side to immediately fight with them. I'm going to go into the side lane first, then we look to fight exactly how we talked about. Alright guys, not every game is going to go well in the early game. So we're going to go over this Gwen game that I was showing you guys at the very start of the video, where I did not have a good early game. I'm 1-4-2 at 12 minutes. This is not the ideal start when you're playing a split pusher, where you fall behind early and you're going to have to try to crawl back into the game. But let's go over, how I come back from a position where really it's not that complicated what I did in the early game. It's not like some drastic thing. I just flipped a couple bad 1v1s, died to a bad gank. Like, it was just some really simple mistakes that if I just avoided, this game could have been a lot easier. But let's go over how we fix a game from this position. So I'm going to TP back top, and I'm actually still pretty decently strong in the 1v1 against Volibear as long as I have my Ignite. But my goal at this point is to stay in top lane. I don't want to be TPing to other lanes or anything because I need to get gold into myself. I need to get myself stronger in the game. So we're going to fight Volibear in a 1v1 here, and I'm actually going to play it pretty decently compared to some of the other 1v1s I had played against him. And it's going to lead to him actually dying. I also have a Karth Assault coming over his head, which helps a little bit. So getting that kill was pretty big for our lane. And I'm not going to greed top lane, even though I wasn't sure where Echo was. We ended up seeing him bot lane, but I'm just going to make sure that I get good tempo. I reset, get my item. I'm going to walk back top, and I'm going to fight him again because I am pretty strong. We knew Echo was bot side when he was contesting that dragon, and at this point, I'm actually pretty strong to slow fight this Volibear. So we're going to scrap him a little bit. I'll even show the 1v1. We're spacing him pretty well. And then here, when his W runs out, I E back into him. And then before he gets another W off, I end up killing him. So now, what was a bad early game is turned into, we're in a pretty even state as Gwen now. We're back in the game a little bit. How do we actually progress now? Goal is to stay top, take as much gold that we can by taking towers. So that's what we're going to do. As Gwen, we sit top lane, take this tier 1, take the next wave, and I'm going to look to base. I saw a fight getting pulled bot, and I could have maybe TP'd to it late. Right here, right? I looked down, I have my TP available. I could have maybe tried to TP, but I was like, it's honestly not worth it because, like we talk about, we're playing a split pusher. We want to stay in the side lane. I end up going for Mercs, and as I'm ripping my TP top, gets a little sketchy. I see Echo and I see Volibear. I immediately try to dash away, but at this point, I'm actually pretty strong because I've come back into the game a little bit against Volibear. I'm pretty sure we end up killing maybe both of them. I know Volibear 100% died. Echo ends up dying too. But now we're in a good spot. Echo's dead. Volibear's dead. I see 2 people bot lane. I'm just going to go and rip on this top tier 2. Remember what we talked about. Towers are everything when we're playing split pusher. So I'm going to hit this top tier 2. And I end up actually snagging it as Volibear is walking back. He's going to greed a little bit. Try to kill me. Ends up getting himself killed. So what do? Go back top lane, push another wave. I saw Echo was dead, but now I want to get into a different side lane. Once tier 2s are gone, most of the time when you're playing a split pusher, it's kind of hard to keep progressing in that lane. So usually what you're going to want to do is go to the other side of the map and try to play for the tier 1, tier 2 on that side. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to recall, and I try to communicate this to my team. I ping my Yone. I want him to go top so he can chill and just catch the wave safely, and then I want to go bot lane. But like we talked about, not everyone's going to listen to your team. Sometimes your team will do stuff that maybe you don't actually want to play for or play to. And we're going to see my Karthus ends up staying bot and my Yone deploys bot side, and it turns into a fight bot lane where now my Nautilus is long chasing the Twitch, and I'm already here. There's nothing really for me to play anywhere else, so I just commit to the fight with my team. Initially, I think the fight is kind of lost, but I'm pretty sure my Yone is going to go in here, go a little sicko mode. I'm trying to maybe back out of the fight, but we get dragged into it. He kills Lulu, and then here I'm just going to fight. As you see, I'm a little hesitant to go for it initially, but we're going to kill everyone here. We kill Shen, Twitch, Lulu. I'm pretty sure Echo ends up dying to my Viego as well. But right here, when Echo's low, remember what we talked about. I don't care to chase this kill. This Echo could have lived, and I truly would not have given a fuck. I just want to get these towers. So, when my Viego kills Echo, I take the tier 1 bot. I walk up on the next wave. I take that wave, and I take the tier 2 bot lane. So now we can see in the span of like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I've taken 4 towers and I've gotten like 3 additional kills. The influx of gold that I've gotten just by, you know, trying to play very patiently, even after having a rough early game, I, you know, had to have some clutch 1v1s against the Volver to get back into the game. But I've just been doing what we talked about. We stay patient, we go into the side lane, we play for towers, we find good fights on our timers, and we just play for the tier 2, tier 1, get a lot of gold. That's our main objective when playing as split pusher. So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit in this game because I want to break down a very specific aspect of playing a split pusher to you guys. So remember what we talked about. Some split pushers have other categories that they can slot into. Even though Gwen is a duelist, she's also a pretty good team fighter. And as we can see, if we look at the minimap, there is no tier 2 available to play for. So at this point, even though me and Yone are both strong in the side lane, it's about playing around our teleports. So Yone in this instance has TP, so it's better for him to go bot lane and me to be on the same side as my team so we can try to play for this Otacon. So that's what I do. I end up deploying topside here out of base. Yone goes bot. And my goal is to push the side lane and do what we talked about, where we're going to be now looking to flank for these fights, looking to actually team fight with my team. Here, I'm going to end up spotting Echo. Me and him are going to scrap a little bit, and we're going to see my support ends up getting caught in the river. I'm trying to walk down for the fight, but I'm trying to communicate to my team that I actually still want to be looking for this. Yone's dealing well with Shen in the bot side of the map, and even though we're 3v4 here on the top side around this Otacon, I feel good enough and strong enough as Gwen that I feel like we could fight this. So we're going to see. We're going to start trying to pull the fight, and they get a little split. Volibear ends up dying initially, and now my team, we're going to chase them down a little bit. And honestly here, I could have pulled off this fight way sooner, and if I was a little bit more locked in, what I would have done is immediately ran top here on this top wave that's caught. If we look right here, once the fight's won, I would have went right to this wave and immediately just started pushing. I end up chasing Lulu a little bit too much, but that's exactly what I do after the fight is won. I go top, I start trying to push with the wave, and I end up actually taking this top tier 3 because of it. But that is an instance where we can see that even though we want to be in the side lane away from our team, away from the objective, because there's no tier 2 to progress into. And when I say that, what I mean is there's no side lane where I can push and I can actively play for a tower there. That's what I mean by progress. So at that point, it's usually better for me to just play around my teleport, which I didn't have, so be on the same side as my team, put my Yone bot who did have TP, and then we just play to team fight because Gwen is still a strong team fighter. We have another time mark to go over. Yes, we do. So here we're going to see that I'm going to recall here. And again, I have my TP up. My Yone also has his TP. And we see Shen answering the bot wave. So with Otacon up, I'm going to immediately rip my TP topside and basically tell my team that I want to play for this because I'm strong enough, like I said, to team fight. So we're just going to immediately start ripping the Otacon because the enemy team's off tempo a little bit. They're going to TP into the fight. Again, I'm just focusing the flower. As much as I do want to win this fight, flowers first. But we're going to pull the fight, and the fight ends up going really well for us. I think I get a triple kill here. I kill Shen on the back end here, and then I'm going to kill Lulu too while the other two get finished off. And we're just going to push top here and try to end the game. I think they end up actually FFing right here. Yeah, they end up FFing. So let's go back and just kind of break this whole point down, right? So we take the tier 3 top. I start recalling. Because the enemy team's off tempo and I'm strong enough to team fight and I have my TP up, just immediately rip the TP top, start the Otacon. Even though we're playing a split pusher, it's also about identifying, you know, how strong you are in the game and what your champion can do. Because Gwen's a good team fighter, Shen was bot, enemy team's off tempo, I'm more than happy for them to just have to walk into this choke into my champion and just rip them to shreds. That's the breakdown of what split pushing is, how to split push, and, you know, the breakdown of my 2 specific games where I was playing split pushers and how I actually played in those games. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this will help you go split push in your games. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.